It's been a very challenging time for us here at SuperSport, as we've never experienced anything quite like this before. This issue has caused a lot of emotive debate around racism, and it seemed to have polarized our society even further, which I find very unfortunate. Having said that, we must accept that racism is a real issue in South Africa. We therefore owed it to ourselves and to our subscribers and the broader public to deal with this matter independently, sensitively, fairly, and thoroughly. As a business, we don't and we will never tolerate racism or prejudice of any kind. All the personalities involved in this incident also deserved a fair analysis of what transpired on the 19th of May. Initially, we attempted to resolve this amicably and expeditiously by way of discussing with the presenters involved. This, unfortunately, did not resolve the issue. We then appointed Advocate Vincent Maleka SC, a respected, independent professional, to review the cause of the altercation fully and objectively and let us have his findings and recommendations. We thank him most sincerely for the thorough review he has done. Advocate Maleka SC has completed his review and we received his report yesterday. We will be making his comprehensive 50-page report available in its entirety after this press briefing. The review process by Advocate Maleka SC was very extensive and included taking the following steps. Step number 1. Reviewing the audio visuals of the live studio broadcast, including footage which was not broadcast on the day, and of prior broadcasts involving the 3 presenters. Step 2. Conducting separate interviews with role players, including Naas Botha, Nick Mallett, the anchor on the day, Motsidisi Mohono, the head of productions for SuperSport, the executive producer for rugby, the production manager of the broadcast, Mandla Ntsibande, and the CEOs of MultiChoice and SuperSport. Thirdly, conducting on-site inspections, which included visiting the studio and viewing a live broadcast in an outside broadcast van during the recent test match between South Africa and England at Ellis Park. He also interviewed and consulted with Professor Adam Habib, an expert with extensive experience in race relations and considered literature on subtleties of racism conduct. Ashwin Willemse regrettably decided not to participate in the review, even though all parties involved were advised of the process before it started and raised no objections at the time. Advocate Maleka found the following. Firstly, the conduct of Naas and Nick during the off-air conversation with Ashwin and during the live studio broadcast of the post-match commentary of the match does not manifest naked racism and was not motivated by racist considerations. Secondly, assisted by Professor Habib, he also found that there was also no evidence of Naas or Nick exhibiting either intended or unintended subtle racism. The incident cannot be explained on the basis of the suggestion or suspicion that Ashwin was, for the most part, not present in the studio when the second half of the rugby match was televised. Fourthly, there are 2 factors which provide a reasonable explanation for the incident. The first is the mistaken technical assumption that there was enough time for all the analysts to express their pre-match analysis or commentary of the Lions versus Brumbies rugby match. However, the switch to the live broadcast happened sooner than anticipated, and consequently, there was no time for Ashwin to express his views. The panel then agreed, off-air, that Ashwin would be given the first opportunity to speak after the game. The second is that it is reasonable to assume that Ashwin may have regarded the common stance adopted by Nick and Naas as patronizing when they insisted that he should thereafter speak first. Those were his main findings, and I would suggest that you read the complete report to have the full context of this process. Advocate Maleka SC also made a number of recommendations, all of which will be implemented by SuperSport. These are that a forum will be established for the team of analysts to provide their views on the performance of the analysts and possible room for improvement during that specific broadcast after each studio broadcast. Secondly, a code of conduct will be formulated for analysts, including grievance procedures and credible mechanisms to resolve any grievances they may have. Thirdly, analysts will be required to operate the touchscreen in the studio across the color line, even though the touchscreen is the more complex of the functions on set. Fourthly, counseling will be offered to Mutsidisi, Naas, Nick, and Ashwin due to the emotional suffering all have endured from and since the incident. Then lastly, SuperSport will take the additional step of referring Advocate Maleka's report to the South African Human Rights Commission. Given Advocate Maleka's findings, we expect that Naas and Nick will resume studio duties in the future. We will discuss the timing of this with the presenters and our production department. While we are disappointed that Ashwin did not participate in Advocate Maleka's review, we respect his right not to do so. And in the spirit of reconciliation, I will make another attempt to reach out to Ashwin for us to find a mutually acceptable way forward so that he knows that this issue has been fairly investigated. Notwithstanding what has happened, one cannot forget that Ashwin reached the peak of international sport while facing very difficult circumstances, and he continues to inspire many young people in our country. He represents the aspirations of many, and I sincerely hope that Ashwin will respond positively. Thank you so much. I will now hand back to Carol to facilitate the questions.